Welcome to the Coffee Talk Podcast. This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated. And now, here's your host, Shannon Ross.
Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Thank you for joining us this week on Coffee Talk. Hope everyone is having a good week. How are you?
Hello.
I can always tell by the hat that you wear. Like, we should have like a menu.
By the hat that I wear, really?
Equals mood. Oh,
really?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yes.
Oh.
And yes.
What is this hat then?
I'd have to this hat is like, I'm hanging on by a thread hat.
Because you couldn't have been more right. You could have nailed it more. Yes.
Where your tri-delt hat that I call it's the happy hour hat is like the happy trekker hat of
Hence
you're
the
ready
happy
to party,
hour.
you're
Yeah.
ready to celebrate.
Yeah.
This one's like I'm going comfort. It's like your security blanket.
Well, it's because it's more
cute.
like.
It goes lower. Poor Kelly is trying to see your face through the lighting. And so,
Poor Kelly.
But
She's going to learn my hats too.
I'm just kidding. You don't look like you're hanging on by a thread.
Well,
you
at
really
least
don't.
you
You look very
liar.
pretty today. You do.
Thanks. Well, I'm here.
It's Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Thursday is close enough to the weekend
Yes.
where it puts everyone in a good mood.
Yes.
Honestly, Thursdays have always been my favorite day of the week. Even like as a
More than
kid going
Friday?
through high school, college. Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because I feel like it's like an anticipation day where that weekend's almost here.
There?
Like once you hit the
Okay.
weekend, it goes so fast that I
Interesting.
feel like by Saturday midday I'm like depressed because I'm like
Because
it's
Sunday's
going
the
too
next
fast.
day?
Yeah.
That's a
And
fair point.
Thursday nights have always been this kind of celebratory night in my home, even like way back when.
Celebratory.
Yeah.
That's
So
not overstated. It's like celebratory.
It is.
I think I know
It
what you
is.
mean. Like I get
So.
excited. Like Thursday comes, I'm like, oh, okay, we're
Yeah.
getting there. Like, and
Yeah.
now we have Thursday night football, so that always makes me happy. But
Yeah.
I celebrate. I don't know that we celebrate it, but I get what
Yeah.
you mean. Like it's like okay,
Yeah. And it's changed over, like in my early 20s, I remember Justin and I, every Thursday night, we would get pizza and cookie dough and totally pig out. And we'd watch Friends when it was like on TV and then The Apprentice.
I love that show. We promote good health on this show with our pizza and our cookie
that
dough.
was, like I said, 20s.
20s,
These
yeah.
days, I would not get away with that. Number one, I'd probably puke. But number two, the waistline would not be in a favorable
Well, it's funny you
spot.
say that. David just texted
So.
me before the show started. And he's like, "Hey, I bought stuff to make pizzas tonight. I love like
Right.
homemade pizzas
Yes.
versus
Pizza for Thursday.
Yeah,
That's
so we're
good.
having pizza for Thursday. I may have to roll in the cookie dough.
Oh,
Well,
I know.
today
Cookie
I don't.
dough is like
today I don't
my
care about my
downfall.
waistline.
It is. Cookie dough makes everything good and
It does.
happy.
It
It's
does.
just good.
I agree.
Well, good. Well, did you have any sanity spins this week? You're just grasping for sanity. It's all right.
It's funny you say that, Shannon. I need sanity.
Yes.
So, do you have suggestions? I would
You
love
know
to
what
do a
has
sanity
been
spin.
bringing me, because I do feel the last 30 days have been a little stressful. You know
A
what I
little?
am starting to watch almost on a daily basis for like just a couple minutes, but it makes me so happy.
Okay.
There's like a whole channel of baby goats in sweaters. And watching these baby goats hop around is like literally like I want a goat farm now. Like
I support that.
they are so cute. And it really makes me put on my bucket list that I really want to try goat yoga before the end of
I
the year.
thought we were going
I
to
know.
do that.
There's not many places around here, which makes me think I might open one because of how much I'm starting to love goats.
I would like to run
But-
that for you. Why don't you fire me from my other job and hire me for the goat yoga farm? I think
I need a goat farm in my
you
life.
have a location for goat
know.
yoga at my house.
That's true. That's true.
I think we just. So I was hanging on by a thread, and you just gave
See,
me.
goats and then little donkey videos have been so cute. They've been like, because I've been looking them up,
need
they're
this
like
in my
all
life.
over my feed, but they literally put you in a very good mood.
I need this in
when
my life, and I
gets
know
heavy.
somebody who's getting rid of 2 goats. By the way,
Okay, see, we can work on it.
we just started a new business. We'll let you know more about our goat yoga and our goat farm in upcoming shows.
And, you know, we're flexible, which is last week's show was flexibility. And we've been flexible this morning with bless Kelly's heart trying to get this all going for us to make us look
She's
presentable
killing
on
it.
camera. She
Yeah,
is.
she's killing it.
We have over 4,000 views this week on our
I
YouTube
know.
channel. It's a big deal.
I'm
My kids
excited.
are like, wow. That's exciting, Mom. They think we're like total losers. So they're like, wow, you guys,
Oh, well, my
you guys
dad
are
thinks
growing.
my dad thinks we're famous. I'm like, Dad, really? He's like, you're so big, get your own podcast and YouTube. I'm like, Dad, you could have your own podcast and YouTube channel.
For the right price.
Right,
Anyone
that's
can
true.
have their
Yeah,
own
you can have your
podcast.
own. Yep.
But we like ours the best.
We do,
But-
of course. Mine is our favorite.
So today we're going to
it's
move
my
on.
favorite.
We are
Yep.
getting so close. We're actually at the tail end, which kind of makes me sad because I feel like we've been in EQ for several months, but it's only been 2. But it's important.
been
Emotional
2 months?
intelligence.
It's been that long.
It's been a while.
I
But
like
the
this.
reason is it has to do with our everyday life. And one of the topics we're going to talk through today is the building up of stress tolerance. And I love the topic of tolerance because it's a little bit of a loaded word. Because we all think, oh, if I just had more tolerance. But think of situations where you've built a lot of tolerance around. Has it been a healthy situation or not? Like there's a certain point where too much tolerance of anything starts to go downhill.
Or,
Not just stress, but just think of anything that you're trying to build tolerance in.
True. Well, in certain situations, you have become so tolerant that you actually suppress so much that you are a growing volcano on the inside.
Yeah.
And at any point, that lava explosion
Yep.
is just about to.
Yep. Because you're not just supposed to just build.
Right.
You have to have
Well, that's not really tolerance.
items of release.
Don't you?
But you're building a tolerance. So I think that's why I use build.
No. I like that. I think I said that wrong. What I meant was, what did you just say? See, when I'm hanging on by a thread, my memory also goes a little bit. You just said something about.
And then you test my listening skills.
I know,
That
right?
if I'm listening to the last
Never
thing you
mind.
said,
Move
no.
on.
No, you were talking about being a volcano. And like if you're building it up on the inside, then you're going to erupt.
Yes, but
How
I
does
think
that jog?
I think the truth is that I think what you perceive as tolerating something, I think because you said it's not always a good thing. I think in some situations you are tolerating, but you're also suppressing simultaneously, which makes it unhealthy. So are you really tolerating in a good way, or are you actually just either denying something for so long or suppressing something for so long that eventually is going to manifest at some ugly point?
It's a tricky lever.
Yeah.
Something to leverage. I mean, we don't want to be babies out there where we can't handle anything
Right.
of life, right? We have to grow in adulthood and maturity, and we have to build that strength, especially, obviously stress tolerance. The reason why stress is a part of EQ is because it's a dominant part of life.
Yeah.
And not all stressors are bad. It's the right amount of stress that causes us to grow and continue to learn and evolve. But when it comes to stress tolerance, we're talking about what it involves, coping with stressful or difficult situations. And the reason why we want to build some stress tolerance in our life is because we need that belief that we can manage or control or influence situations in a positive manner.
Right.
So life isn't just happening to us. And we've all been in seasons like that, and our listeners as well. When you feel like life is just happening to you.
Oh, man.
And you feel like you are slowly drowning because just wave after wave after wave.
Or you're becoming completely unraveled?
Yeah. I mean, yes, because it's overwhelming you.
it is.
It's taking you over. And through that process, needing to make adjustments to get to a place where, okay, instead of being overwhelmed, I am making adjustments so that I can find some control, that I can find some influence, where I can cope in a good way, not cope in a escape kind of way.
Well, and I feel like hat wearing is a good coping mechanism. I feel like I'm not escaping in my hats. But I think even a better way to put that would be, for me at least, is if you are low in this, you have to strategize. Like you have to look at situations and where you are low in stress tolerance, develop an appropriate strategy so that life isn't happening to you.
Yeah.
But when it does hit, because if you acknowledge you're low in this area, you're going to have certain strategies so that you don't cope in a wrong way, but that you do make healthy choices and do things in a healthy way to ensure that you aren't becoming completely unraveled.
Right, or becoming a victim,
Yeah.
or like where you become kind of apathetic and powerless in a situation.
Which is
and we all
easy
know
to get to
people
that.
out there who, and we've all
I've been
a
that
victim
before.
before,
Yeah.
where we're just like, we want to pack up and go home and be whiny and we feel powerless and that we have no control over anything.
I'm like, peace out.
Yeah.
I'm going into my hole. Leave me alone.
And we throw pity parties. And,
Yes.
we've all been there.
I used to be. I can be pretty good at pity parties.
Well, you probably have some legitimate reasons why you've thrown some pity parties in the past.
But it's true. Like you isolate, at least for me, that's one of my areas that I will tend to withdraw completely, which is super unhealthy because you have certain relationships in your life, like you, who can look at me and say, "Uh-oh,
stop being a baby, let's go."
The Fenway hat is on. What do we need to do to
But that's
pull
my
you
instinct
out?
is like to pull you out. It's like, let's go. We can do this.
Come on.
Like,
I know. Well, hello, Goat Farm.
I know.
I'm telling you,
seriously,
you just
that is
gave me a
literally
new
maybe in
project,
our
just
future.
so you know. We're going to start there's going to be a new LLC coming out real soon.
I like it. I like
Goat
it.
yoga.
We'll invite you all. Come to Colorado to
please.
be with us for Goat Yoga.
Goat yoga. Okay.
But
Anyways.
when we talk, so let's dial in
Yeah.
with stress a little bit because
Yeah.
we've talked about, we don't want to be victims out there. We've all been in those seasons before when something especially tragic happens or unexpected or what have you. And even financially, if you're in a downturn or if you're losing your job out there, and it's hard because that stuff happens and stuff just happens to us that we don't choose.
Yeah.
And so it's how do we get the grit and the kind of chutzpah to
The
overcome that.
The what?
Chutzpah.
What is
I think it's a Yiddish word.
What is that?
Chutzpah. You've never heard that? That's funny.
Just
You are so
Yiddish.
Texan.
Listen, everybody, you're learning Yiddish. Did you two know this word? See?
Chutzpah, really? It's like grit.
We don't know Yiddish.
It's like it's
Yiddish?
Yes.
I'm Googling this. Keep
It
going
is.
with your...
It's this kind of like gumption. Gumption would be a synonym.
This
to
is our new
chutzpah.
word for the week, guys. I want you
I don't
to
know
use
how
it.
to spell it, so don't ask me.
I'll find
But
out
I'm
later.
all about like how do we build outcomes that
Yeah.
outlast our stress? Because sometimes in life, it's just the pure fact if we outlast a stressor, if we outlast a challenge, if we outlast a challenging coworker or boss or what have you, if we just outlast it,
Yeah.
we will have a sustainability that we want that leads us to our dreams coming true, our life being, what we want it to be. And so this doesn't just happen, but we have to,
feel like I
have
have to
the
raise my
chutzpah
hand.
around it. Yes, student.
Okay, but
Yeah.
as a listener, sometimes when you say we just have to outlast it, but how do we outlast it is the even more important part.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to get to that, right?
Yes.
Because that is easy for some people to say, and for others, it's but if you're in my situation, how on earth do I outlast this? Especially if this is a long-lasting,
sure.
ongoing experience. I mean, let's just look at the past year and a half.
Sure.
I feel like for many of people that I've spoken to, I feel like because of the way things have been building over the last year and a half, right now people's stress tolerance is at an all-time low, even if maybe it used to be higher, because this season is becoming so... we're becoming so weighted down and it's getting so hard, and it feels like just when we get some momentum, another wave, another hit comes, it's another piece of bad news, just when we think the pandemic might, here it sweeps in through again. And how
politics and the pandemic
It's
is really all
hard.
you need right now
It
to
gets-
find enough stress in life.
yeah, and I think tolerance could be even going down, because EQ fluctual.
Well, there goes that one.
Goes my notes today. I'm done.
I can read it from
You know what? I quit.
No, but to your point,
yes,
the how.
yes.
It's very much in the how. I think there are a lot of different. I'm reading this book right now.
Am I allowed to get up?
Yes, you can get it. I'll tell this story while you're doing that. I'm reading this book right now. It's written by an ex-Navy SEAL, and it's all about how to overcome and what he did to mentally challenge himself constantly to continue to build this tolerance of like facing his fears, building grit, and honestly going after and doing something really uncomfortable every day to push his mental capacity to a limit where he was no longer scared of the things that used to scare him. And I mean, it's an extreme book because you can imagine what it takes to go through Navy SEAL training and that whole type of thing. And he gives motivational speeches throughout the country. But and we'll put it on our website. There is some colorful language throughout the whole book, but it's dense.
Yeah.
But it's I mean, so what he would say if he was here is that you have to bring yourself into mental challenges and say, you're not going to get me.
Okay.
Like you are going to almost get yourself and convince yourself. And this is where another lever comes that we'll talk to in a minute about optimism.
Okay.
But you will learn how to thrive until you start thriving in those conditions. Those conditions are going to overtake you, but you have to face them head on. And flexibility is actually something that it's tied directly to find new ways to go about these old stressors. Because I don't know about you, but I think most of us have bents where it's these triggers that tend to rear their heads over and over and over again. We're usually not stressed by new things. It's usually the same type of stress, maybe in a different package, but it's the same type of stress that comes after us over and over and over again. And it's building that tolerance up to enough so that you can look it in the face and just
with your
I mean, like you're saying no. Like
you're on a roll today.
Before I went into the financial world, I feel like I was attacked a lot of times by financial hardships. And we've talked about this, like medical bills or unforeseen things. And it's just been a huge stressor for me. But because I would get to a point where I'd expect them to come, I would get gumption around it and say, you're not beating me. I'm going to outlast you, and just facing your worst fears, but also building insulation around you in those areas. So mentally, they can't take you out anymore. Physically, they can't take you out anymore. And flexibility is key in that, because it's how you approach. Your approach needs to be more active in how you deal with stress and identify small things that help you make adjustments. So now when I'm in a stressful situation, I automatically try to go to the adjustment phase. What adjustments do I need to make to dial down the stress? What budget cuts do I need to make? What investments do I need to make? What schedule changes do I need to make? Those are common stresses in my life. And you think about yours, whatever they may be, but what adjustments can you make so that you diffuse them of the power that they have over you?
Gotcha.
That's, I believe, and according to EQ research, that's how you build more confidence in how you build resiliency around those areas of whatever those stresses would be for you.
Well, so what you're essentially saying is finding control.
Yeah.
Even if it's perceived control.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to kind of fake it till you make it. You pick things that you're going to try to start to gain some control.
Well, because that's going to alleviate a lot of, at least alleviate some of the stress and the impact of the stress.
Mm-hmm. And imagine if you can get good at stress tolerance, you are significantly at an advantage of life. For sure. Those who can look at change and stressful situations and laugh at them and thrive in them are BAs out there, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen. And I love having examples and mentors in this area. And again, I'll bring the book next week of what I'm reading. I mean, that's an excessive one, but it gives you some really good mental training. And he had to look in the mirror every day and just really be honest of what he needed to change about himself. Okay. And how hard he had to work. But it was all around a goal to take out the fear out of his life. And this man is capable of doing inhuman things, like crazy things, as Navy SEALs are trained up to do. But he's still human. Yeah. I mean, these mental exercises are very compelling, but it comes down to flexibility and adjustments to find, like you said, find that control that at least is the first building block of what you can get control over.
Well, because I think a lot of times the stress comes when everything feels like it's spiraling out of control and you can't seem to grasp onto anything that makes sense. And especially if your emotional awareness is low, wouldn't it be able to be low, not high? If your emotional awareness is low, now you're just, life is chaotic. You can't grasp on anything. So you're going to chase something to find something to grasp onto. And most likely in that scenario, it's not going to be healthy. It's not going to be good.
Yeah, you'll cope in a destructive way, in an escapism kind of way, instead of taking it face on. But again, there are guardrails. So we want good stress tolerance, but let's take it to the other side. When we build too much tolerance, signs that you're building much tolerance is that you will get fatigued and burnt out, because you will take on more and more and more, not knowing when enough is enough. And that is, if you are too high, then you will burnout is a absolute sign that your stress tolerance might be too high, because you always have another iron in the fire. It's almost like you don't have the ability to recognize what stress is doing to you, because you can cope with so much of it. So it takes an absorbent amount to get your attention.
Okay.
Where it could be more in, displaying physically instead of in your emotion.
Okay.
It could be more, physical demands on your body. You're getting sick. You have heart disease. You're getting,
Sure.
like the symptoms that you might not emotionally be aware of until it's too late.
Okay.
So you have to make adjustments. If you're one that can thrive in this area and you want to continue to push it to the limit, you have to understand that you do have a limit, and you can't put those same limits on other people.
Right.
This is one of the biggest lessons I've learned, to the detriment of those around me. You're probably one of those on this list. Is I tend to put my expectation on myself onto others, and so it can weigh down on my empathy for others because of just everyone's built differently.
Right.
And it's not good or bad. It's just different. And so if you're someone out there who does have a high stress tolerance and you can deal with a lot of stress, don't expect that your spouse or your kids or people who work for you can tolerate that same amount, because what makes you thriving might break them to pieces.
Yeah.
And so we're all built for different roles and different destinies. So we have to just be mindful and cognizant of where those changes might occur. So I think stress tolerance is one of those, like I said last week, this stress whole category of stress management and the prior decision making. Those two really, to me, are some of the most practical in improving, because they will help you overcome and, again, build those lasting outcomes that we all want in life. We don't want life to kick us in the shins every week. That's just nonsense.
No. Well, I think, though, the challenge for somebody who might be low in stress tolerance, or they're in a season where they're lower in stress tolerance, that the strategies to try to circumvent that, those strategies alone seem overwhelming. And that's one of the challenges that somebody with low stress tolerance has to get through. And don't get me wrong, you have to.
Like, where do you find the first step?
You have to get up your chutzpah and spit on it.
That's right. That's right. You do.
But you do.
You have to make yourself bigger than the problem.
You do. Like, you really have to. I'm not all about pulling up your own bootstraps. Yes, that's good, and in some ways it's not. But, I mean, part of this is learning to be intentional ahead of what might be a stressful situation.
Right.
Or if you're already in that stressful situation, leaning into the relationships that you have, leaning into what you...
Certainly, that's part of the flexibility part. It might not come from you inside you. It might be finding a better team or
means you have to come out of
support.
your shell, which is really challenging for somebody who's probably low in this. You're the turtle. Like, you go into your shell, and to reach out to people can be... It sounds so easy, but it can be a challenge, but you have to... Your lack of intentionality here will be your detriment.
And so the last topic we're going to talk about today is optimism.
We go from that into optimism.
And how they're so closely linked. Because if you don't have confidence, and I use confidence and optimism sometimes interchangeably. If you don't have the optimism, like things can get better, I can overcome this.
Right.
And more of a positive light. Optimism affects every single other indicator inside emotional intelligence. Those that are pessimistic are going to by far set themselves up for failure than an optimistic person.
Can you imagine being a strong pessimist and low in stress tolerance?
I mean, you'd be a miserable person. I mean, you're not listening to this show. But you're not. We would annoy the snot out of someone
Yeah, they
like
would
that.
hate us.
Yeah.
They would hate
So-
us. Yeah. That's okay. We're not for everybody. We're not for everybody. No.
But optimism is that, someone's positive attitude and outlook on life, and it involves remaining hopeful and resilient despite occasional setbacks. It's not that you're, with rose-colored glasses, you're ignoring the seriousness of situations. That would be too high, where you're kind of like this Pollyanna, and you can't accurately reality test some situations that you're in. So we're not... Tell me you don't know what Pollyanna is.
Well, I know the movie. I love that movie as a kid. Okay, do y'all know what Pollyanna is?
It's a descriptive...
I love that I'm not...
Maybe it's because I'm older than all of you. So Pollyanna, yes, there was a Disney movie about it.
Love it.
But being a Pollyanna means just being ignorant, being kind of like, everything's great.
So
and
are we
wonderful?
Are us
and-
three Pollyannas in the
No,
room?
no,
Because we don't know.
But
Write that one down, guys.
write
All
that
right.
one down.
Pollyanna
I'm
and
expanding the
chutzpah.
dictionary of
Man.
practical terms. But
'Kay.
optimism is key to every single other category of this, because it's building that belief that things will start to turn around. And people in your life, those who are more optimistic, they do tend to be happier. It's also, we're going to talk next week about the happiness indicator and what 4 skill sets really weigh in to those that make us, quote, happy. And optimism is one of those. And so building your optimism is one of the best things I think you can do for the foundation of every other EQ lever. I mean,
But you're definitely going to be happier.
You're going to be happier. You're going to be more successful. It's actually one of the main indicators of success as well, because positivity, again, gets you moving in the direction in which you want to go.
Yeah.
Financially, in relationships, and challenges. It's all those things, and it has a direct tie to your self-regard. If you're pessimistic, your self-regard is probably pretty low. If you're building an optimism and you are building in that confidence in yourself, your self-regard will also go up. And I feel like optimism, I think it's harder to build it synthetically.
I was about to say this is one that takes longer to change. I think some people are naturally more optimistic about life.
Absolutely agree.
And then I mean that in a sense, and those aren't always the one. Sometimes it's the ones who life has even hit them the hardest.
Yeah, absolutely.
This isn't just, and those people are some of the happiest people I've ever known. One, they've just survived a lot.
Yeah.
But 2, it really has built up in them, and they've probably allowed it to.
Yeah.
But they still have not lost hope for the future.
Right.
They still believe that there are good things to come. They still see glass half full type of. So this isn't just for the ones who've never gone through
Absolutely.
anything. Because I can show you some of those who've never gone through anything, some of the most pessimistic people that I know.
No doubt. And optimistic people are those that also rarely give up prematurely.
Yes.
So the show is titled Outlasting Outcomes. And sometimes, again, when you're building that tolerance to outlast whatever's coming after you, if you have a higher optimism, you have a higher propensity to outlast it.
Yeah.
Because you're not giving up until it works out the way you want it
Well,
to.
you're this is kind of the fight or flight.
Yes.
You're probably more of a fighter. You're not a quitter. You don't give up easily.
Yep,
You're
absolutely.
you're in it for the long haul. I know
Yep.
those times some different EQs. I'm not saying it's all optimism,
Yeah.
but I think this ties to those types of traits because you are more able to see there's could be some good on the other side of this
Yes.
if I just hang on to this. I'm not saying anything unhealthy.
And
but
being well adjusted in optimism, because you have to set realistic goals. Like if you're someone who is just living in fantasy land, setting all these unrealistic goals that no one can achieve, including yourself and your family, you're going to drive people nuts, because people are going to be, they're not going to believe in your reality testing. They're going to be, that's good for you. Go for the shoot for the moon. I hope you hit the stars, but I'm not going along this journey. Like they will unhitch their wagon from yours
real quick,
very quickly, because you have to keep it real. Like it's a great strength, but you have to remain realistic about whatever is challenging you. And I like stretch goals. I feel like I always set goals and then I set a stretch, because I'm still trying to be realistic. But stretch goals are, hey, I'm going to push it a little bit. If we hit it, great. Stretch goals are not, have a lower probability of being hit. But for someone who, I'm a big goal setter, I know you know that, is it allows me to still do it without driving people completely crazy.
So you don't drive people crazy.
I drive myself
crazy. Yeah.
So.
Okay, so what would you say to the person who says, I'm not a pessimist and I'm not an optimist.
I'm a realist. Yeah, I don't believe in realism. I think you're either one or the other. I think you're lying to yourself. Okay. Because I think it's a coping strategy.
Really?
You are trying to, I think, take risk off the table. If you're a realist, you're kind of, I think it's an apathetic approach to life. I think you're saying, I don't want to put myself out there and get my hopes up. Hope is very dangerous. I understand. Hope is a hard word for people, especially those coming out of really hard times.
Yeah.
And
we've talked about that before on the show in a past episode. I'm sure several that I can't remember off the top of my head, but we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
That hope for many people is, okay, well, yeah, but if I hope, then I'm going to be disappointed when it doesn't happen.
It's that cynical quote of, it's the hope that kills you.
Yeah.
We've heard it from a couple different sources.
Yeah.
And that's so sad. Like if you're not going to let hope rise in your life is going to be kind of sad.
Yeah.
you're self-containing what it's capable of doing for you. Where if you take the limits off, you allow hope to rise. Yes, it might not go exactly.
It doesn't mean it'll go your way,
but it'll go better than without hope.
Well, either way, life's probably not always going to go your way.
Totally.
I'd rather err on the side of hope and at least be fueled with something
absolutely
that feels like it has purpose and meaning.
Look at the people in your life that you would say are hopeful and optimistic.
Right.
They're living the life that you probably want. Their blood pressure is probably lower. They have enjoyment in the little things.
Yeah.
It's those people that I look to sometimes and I'm like, man, I want more of that.
Yeah,
when I look at someone who's hopeless and pessimistic, I'm not looking like, oh, I really want more of that in my life.
Right.
They're not attractive,
right.
Well,
and I know they've all got their stories as to why they're there, but I think there is, either way, life hits. I don't care who you are, just keep on living. And I don't mean that that's just life. We live in a broken world, and death happens, and pain, and broken relationships, and sorrow, and sadness. But when you maintain hope in all of it, there's a resiliency there that is going to allow you to bounce back a little bit more quickly than continuing to stay hopeless about something that, it didn't go your way. Yes, that was the worst, maybe the worst case scenario really did plan out, but you're still here.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes you need a little time.
Absolutely.
Like you just need a little time to stir up the hope again. Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, being fake.
No.
But we're talking about using these kinds of levers to make the adjustments.
Yeah.
To make the needed changes you need, to stir those things up, to get yourself going again, to start the engine again, to start over. Sometimes we need to reinvent ourselves financially. Sometimes hardships have hit, but I have found that often, most times, those setbacks are an opportunity for a comeback. And so it's regrouping. It's finding out, okay, what do I, now that whether you choose it or not, you're starting over, what do I want my life to look like?
Right.
Now that I have the opportunity, what changes am I brave enough to make now that I don't really have a choice?
Yeah.
And you get the people around you who can help you, you get mentors, you get what have you. And I believe, a year, 2 years, 3 years later, you'll look back and you'll be so thankful that actually happened.
Well, sometimes it's good to be backed into a corner where you're forced to make those changes that needed to happen, that were for your good, not for your destruction. Yeah. I will say this, what would you say, because I think optimism is the hardest one, what would you tell somebody that a couple strategies or a couple things that they could do to help them in this area if they are low in optimism?
Find some optimistic friends.
Get around
people who are optimistic, because I think, it's that company, and I think spirits are transferable, good thoughts are transferable. Like if you get around some optimistic people, and you all know them, you all have people in your life.
I hope you do. If you don't, go find them.
Totally. They're out there. So don't give up until you find a couple.
Go yoga and goat farms. But I bet you can find them there.
Totally. Yes. Go to goat yoga and you will find some optimistic people and you will at least laugh. But that's why, because I think it's hard to know something that you don't know. Yeah. Right? Just out of the blue. And so if you are learning for a new skill, I always try to find those people who already have it. Yeah. And so that you can glean off of them, what are they about? What makes them tick? How did they get that way? And some are more born with it than others.
Well, it's contagious too.
But find it. Yes.
It's optimism, joy, hope. Yeah. It is contagious.
Yeah.
Laughter really can be the best medicine for your soul, even in the darkest night of the soul.
Absolutely.
So that would be your first. Find some optimistic people.
Find some people that are optimistic and become their friend.
Make them be your friend.
Totally. So we are going to wrap up this week. And next week, finish up EQ, which I'm kind of sad to let it go. But we will, I'm sure, bring it up on different financial shows and as we continue to grow.
It'll bleed into other shows for sure.
But before we leave, I wanted to mention and ask, just, reminding people where to find us, what different platforms are up and running.
I'm so glad you asked. That's such a good question. If you'll notice, I don't have my sheet today.
I'm so glad.
I feel very exposed and very...
You'll do so much better without reading it.
Really? I like reading it. I like my script. But I'm so glad you asked. So you can find us on our Instagram. Copy Talk Podcast.
Yep.
Leave us a message. We want to engage with you. We want to hear from you. We've got our website, copytalkpodcast.com. Chris says I say that too fast. That is copytalkpodcast.com.
Right.
Links. We're still revamping it, right? It's not done yet. We're still working on that, right?
Yep.
link
But it's
services.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's there. And then we, of course, have your favorite,
My
which
favorite.
is YouTube.
Come
So
watch us.
please-
4,000 people did this
That's
week.
right. So join the club, subscribe, ring the bell.
Subscribe, ring the bell. Join our community.
yeah.
We interact with our community quite often.
Yeah,
So
we do.
We'll
want
keep you
to.
laughing. We'll be optimistic for you. We
We'll-
can be your optimistic friend if you don't have one. in
I'm
your
actually
own
better in
town.
that area. So we are we told you to find a friend. Here
We'll
we
be your
are.
friend. We're the friend.
We might drive you
So,
crazy, but
well, good. We'll have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
yeah, thanks.
I'm excited for the hat next week.
It'll tell you something about my mood. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
This is intended for informational purposes only and not to be used as a primary basis for investment decisions. Consult your financial professional before making investment decisions. Shannon Ross is a registered representative and MBA of Lighthouse Financial. Lighthouse Financial offers securities and advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisories Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC. Shannon is CEO and managing financial partner of Lighthouse Financial. Cambridge and Lighthouse Financial are not affiliated.